Okay, so this is aperture set at 11, at f11. Alright, I got shutter speed at 80, aperture at 4.0, and ISO set to 400. Alright, here we got shutter speed at 30, aperture at 3.5, and ISO set to 100.
Shutter speed is set at 30, aperture at 4.0, ISO at 400.
Alright, establishing shot of a hallway, shutter speed at 40, aperture at 4.5, and ISO set to 400. This is shutter speed at 40, aperture at 4.0, and ISO at 400. And I'll go ahead and tilt back up also. Shot. I've got shutter speed at 40, got aperture at 4.0, and ISO at 400.
400. Shutter speed is at 40, aperture is at 4.5, and the ISO is at 200.
Alright, this is shutter speed at 30, aperture at 5.6, and ISO set to 800. I got shutter speed at 80, aperture at 5.0, and ISO set to 1600. Alright, for this one, shutter speed 30, aperture set to 5.0, and ISO at 100. Alright, I've got shutter speed at 80, aperture at 9.0, and ISO at 200.
Shutter speed is set at 40, the aperture is set at 6.3, and the ISO is at 800. The shutter speed is set at 40, the aperture at 7.1, and the ISO at 1600. Shutter speed is set at 40, the aperture at 8.0, and the ISO at 800.
Alright, shutter speed at 80, aperture at 9.0, and ISO at 400. Tilting shot. Alright, so this is shutter speed at 40, aperture at 7.1, and ISO at 200.